everybody. Jay is here with my biggest interview to date. I'm super grateful to have this man on the show in just a couple moments. Hotep Jesus is a tech startup entrepreneur. He's an author. He's a marketer. He's a Twitter wizard. He has maintained a following over the course of years on Twitter, appearances on Joe Rogan Experience, Vice, the Tim Pool podcast, the Alex freaking Jones show. He's been on Band.video. I cannot believe I was able to get an interview with Hotep Jesus. Now, look, we covered a little bit. Actually, we covered a lot in a short amount of time. We covered January 6th. We covered possible, I asked him about some kind of secession. We talked about anarchy. We talked about his idea of communism in America. We talked about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, how it's going to change the world. And most of all, he gave you some really great insight and advice into how to handle 2021 and moving forward. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe and like button. And without further ado, please enjoy this interview with Hotep fucking Jesus, man. Woo!
Going over some chess strategy, man.
Yeah, I just started to play chess again, dude. I hadn't played since I was like 15. I just bought a chessboard the other day.
Yeah? Yeah, wonderful.
Bro. Oh, yeah.
Wonderful game, man.
Thank you so much for doing this, man.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.
I appreciate it. I'm going to do like a big intro and stuff like later, and I'm going to cut this together and put it on my YouTube page. This is huge, bro. This is like, believe it or not, you're the third person I've had that I've interviewed since 2012 who's been on the Joe Rogan show.
Ah, nice. Dope. Do I have time to make a coffee?
Yeah, dude, take your time.
All right, I'm about to make coffee. Hold on.
All right, brother.
Let's do this.
All right. I'm honored to be joined by Hotep Jesus, who's known for many things. Hotep's Been Told You is a podcast that is must listen to. All right. I've learned so much through your podcast, man. I learned so much about Black people that I didn't know before. I learned what a Hotep is. I had no idea what that meant. I learned about masculinity, certain things about masculinity that I had no idea about, and so on and so forth. I can put you over for days, bro. Thank you so much for joining me on my show. I really appreciate it. I'm grateful.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. So here's the thing. I have interviewed a couple other people on the Joe Rogan show, Jake the Snake Roberts and Diamond Dallas Page, because I'm from the wrestling industry, man.
Okay.
I had a wrestling radio show for many years. So you're number 3, but you are, bro, without a doubt, a trailblazer, a thought leader. What I want to jump right into this because I don't want to take up too much of your time today. I'm super pumped to talk to you, and I've been excited all freaking day. January 6, 2021, bro. There was a riot on the streets. Tell me, where were you? Sum it up for me.
I was home.
What happened? What happened?
A beautiful day in history happened. We watched people challenge the system, take matters in our own hands. I love what I saw, the aftermath of it all is still weighing on me and deciding, where to go from here. But I think people had real legit gripes. We watched something boil over and come to a head. And we watched American patriots get fed up. They came out, in hundreds of thousands, it looked like, people really swarmed DC. But I'm just happy to see it, man. It was about time. I was like, you guys gonna just sit here and lay down? And they finally stood up and for what they believed in,
Yeah, I mean, I've been a liberal. I was a liberal for 20 years, my entire life, and just 2020 kind of opened my eyes.
Damn.
2020 opened my eyes a lot. Like when Trump won the presidency, I voted for Hillary Clinton. I voted for Obama twice. When Trump won, I started looking for answers because I didn't understand why he won. I was very much in the bubble of like listening to Saturday Night Live and late night talk show hosts. I was a blue collar worker. I became a salesman, became more white collar, focused on money, and it was like almost a perfect storm that led me to where I'm at today, where I'm in the middle, and I definitely lean right. I'm more of a conservative point of view at this point. Where do we go from here with President Trump and this impeachment process and his legacy? Like, what's going to happen, man? I'm hearing some negativity. I'm hearing some bad shit's coming down the path.
Um, well, I think what conservatism means, I tweeted out earlier, is very unpopular opinion. Most people won't get this. And that's mostly because they don't understand some of these ideologies. They understand them how they were practiced throughout history, but they don't understand the totality of history. And I study a lot, especially history, especially what I'm about to talk about now. But I think it's time for a communist dictatorship amongst the conservative right. And I'd like to be that dictator. I don't know. See, the problem with dictatorships is you need someone who you can trust. You need somebody who's going to be benevolent. Obviously, I trust myself, but I think that if the conservative right were to make me the de facto leader or dictator under communism, we can make some beautiful things happen. To explain that a bit further, communism, we're going to go back to the root word of commune, to come together um, and have some sort of cooperation. I believe the distribution of capital goods, the production of capital goods has to be thoroughly thought out and planned. For example, when we look at China, China was a backward agrarian society, and in just over a century, they become a world power. How do you go from backward farmer society to a world power in just 100 years? And it's because they understood people's needs and the production of capital goods. When we think about the left, they wholly control the tech world, and they're creating software and hardware capital goods. So for the conservative right, I pose the question, what are the capital goods that you create? And this is the base in which you create power. I said the same thing with Black people. I said, what is it that you create? What capital good do you create? Because without the capital goods you create or produce, how do you even begin to form an internal economy? Because power is based upon the economics of a people.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And but what does that lead to? Let's say your idea comes to fruition, because it's obvious to me from I've been following this entire political landscape since this great cornholio virus from China came over here. I'm the great cornholio. Came over here to America. I've been following it closely, and what I see is a Republican Party in disarray. They seem to be stepping on each other's toes. They seem to be bending over backwards for the left. If your idea comes to fruition and they form some kind of communism with a leader, what does that mean for the country if they end up like taking control with that idea behind it?
No, when I see conservative right, I'm talking about ranking file.
Oh,
So, when you say the GOP is in disarray, I would say, no, they're in order. They're in the exact order that they were meant to be. Like I always say, there is this pretend dichotomy in Congress, but really that's just two wings on the same bird, as many people try to put it. The GOP kowtows to the leftist liberal Democrats. It's the Democrats who have the power. They have cultural power, as we see them flexing it with the bans nationwide, um, and even in Uganda. But that's another story that I'm currently researching. Facebook interfering with their elections and whatnot. African nation, but yeah, I'm not when I say this communist dictatorship, it is um, has nothing to do with republicanism, nothing to do with the Republicans and the GOP. Those people cannot be trusted. In fact, I'm very much aligned with the anarchists, voluntarists, and the agorists. Um, this idea of government, this centralization of power under the federal government is not one that I'm aligned with. Therefore, when we create this society or this mutual aid society, we are talking about the exclusion of politics. It's even ignoring politics to a certain extent until we can form a righteous plan.
that's interesting. That's something that that I need to think about a little bit deeper because, you know, my movement from being a brainwashed puppy dog liberal, you know, admittedly, totally admittedly, like I am self-aware of this. You know,
Yeah.
I learned self-awareness from Gary V, and I'm self-aware of this. And like I'm moving more towards like I've been listening to Michael Malice. I listened to your show with Michael Malice recently on his show.
Yeah.
I've listened to a lot of your content recently, man. And the idea of anarchism to me is interesting in the fact that how would the elites, the power structure in America allow that to happen?
It's not about what they allow or disallow. Um, you have a freedom of association. Um, it's not about destroying what they've built. It's about making what they've built irrelevant. If you had a society or a group of people, um, for example, when we talk about politics, let's talk about politics for a second. You familiar with the story of Rajneesh? You ever see that documentary, Wild Wild Country?
Yeah, I actually did see that. Yep, I did see that.
So in that documentary, Rajneesh basically goes to, I believe, Oregon or Wyoming, some nondescript place, right? And small town,
Oregon.
takes it over. Oregon, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
And basically takes over the local political body, right? Well, when you do that, you get to make your own local rules. That's how the United States is set up, right? Um, so that's how things should be done. You find your locale, you take over that governing body, you push out the nonsensicals, and you create your own society that way. Your rules, regulations, how you're going to live, so on and so forth. And then let it spread from there, right? So, for example, people talk about Texas and they're talking about Texas wants to secede. Well, that's exactly how it's done, right? To remove yourself from the centralization of power. Now, the more people that get together and do this, the government becomes less and less relevant. You see, the government, what they like to do is they like to create problems to make themselves relevant, or people don't know how to act, which makes the government relevant. And that's really what we have to remind ourselves is, how do we conduct ourselves? How we conduct ourselves in a better manner makes the government less relevant, giving more and taking less. Had there been a societal push to tackle homelessness, lack of education, and poverty, government wouldn't have a case to make any of these socialist programs. If each one fed one, if each one taught one, the government is wholly taking over this responsibility because we failed to as a people. And they've done things to coerce that stuff to happen by levying taxes and so on and so forth, making it harder on us. But still, that is the goal we have to achieve, is the ability to handle all the problems within the free market. So the government is like, there's no place for me here. And then they simply dissolve.
I see. That makes sense. That clears it up a lot. Now, you know, if say Texas did secede, like say that's their plan, and they went along with it, and they're like, "F this, we're out of here. We're starting the Republic of Texas by ourselves. Nobody else is invited. It's us." How would the rest of the country react? Like, what, you know, just in a hypothetical scenario, would there be a war? Would it be Texas versus the rest, or would other states join Texas? Would it be? It would be a civil war. It'd be the North versus the South again, essentially, right?
I think it would be a Cold War.
Cold War?
Yeah, but I think there would be other states that would follow suit. You always need that first one to set the precedent and be the example. And I think that would start a trend.
Now, here's my follow-up question to that. Do you think this actually happens?
A secession by Texas.
Yeah.
I'll refrain from answering the question because the law of attraction says what you speak shall manifest. So I want to stay agnostic in regards to that, and let's see how the cards lay. Let's see how the chips lay, and see what people do. When you speak things, you can change the course of history. So you have to be very careful with your words and what you say. To say yes and to say no could change the course of history. And so I don't want to ruin the potential space-time continuum.
Yeah, I love that, dude. I really love that. That's manifestation in all its glory, bro. Um, Pivot a little bit. Let's pivot. Bitcoin. All right.
Hmm.
Bitcoin needs to, if that plan goes through, if that's something that can happen, I'm sure Bitcoin cryptocurrency would be a linchpin of it, a fresh society with maybe without the Federal Reserve, possibly. I mean, that to me makes a little bit of sense. I've been involved in and out of the Bitcoin space for about 4 years. I wish I would have never sold my Bitcoin, because if I would have never sold my Bitcoin, I wouldn't have a 9 to 5 job right now, bro. It's just that
Yeah.
simple. I wouldn't have, I would
Yeah.
be doing something else. But I sold it over the years, and for about a year, I've been dollar cost averaging, and I'm really happy with the results. So, how does Bitcoin tie into this? And I know you have an app, Bitcoin app, Bitcoin
Hmm.
Bit. I'm sorry, I
Coinbits.
forgot the name. Coinbits, yeah, Coinbits. I know you have an app,
Yeah.
Coinbits. Like, tell me a little bit about it.
Coinbitsapp.com. Yeah, coinbitsapp.com, like they say, like Bitcoin Zay said during my interview, during the gold rush, who got rich? Those people were selling shovels. So, the Coinbits app is my shovel. Um, but I'm onboarding people into the Bitcoin world, allowing them to make some gains in a very frictionless manner. We see people getting banned from payment platforms, so on and so forth. But I think Bitcoin could be that solution. I've just now hit, I guess, the second level of becoming a Bitcoiner, and that's actually um, my books are now available to be purchased in cryptocurrency. I take
Hell
crypto
yeah.
now.
I love that,
Yeah,
dude. I love that.
yeah. So it's about using these alternatives. They're super empowering. I have to speak to some of the experts. I'm no expert on Bitcoin by any means. I know a little bit, and I'm learning day by day. But let's say somebody gets banned from PayPal or Stripe, right? Like, who was it recently? The Trump campaign got banned from Stripe, um, but he was anti-Bitcoin. It's like, well, with Bitcoin, I don't think you could have been stopped, right? But then there's this problem of the exchange. Um, the exchange, the intermediary that sends Bitcoin from destination A to destination B. Um, I have to go and ask some questions, but I believe that Bitcoin solves this problem where we don't need that middleman to handle our transactions and donations and so on and so forth. I'm sure there's some mechanisms that are handled by software companies and software owners, and maybe they could be threatened. Um, but I haven't seen too much of that to say that such and such cannot receive Bitcoin because an exchange was threatened by the government or some entity or something like that. But again, I think cryptocurrency solves a lot of that because it's permissionless. You don't need somebody's permission to transmit money.
Right. And there's a lot of people are saying that it's a bubble. It's something that can be related to like the former bubbles in the past, like tulips or baseball cards or silly stuff like that. But I don't see that being the case. I know Mark Cuban has kind of been speaking out about that over the past couple of days on Twitter. I'd like to actually pull up one of his tweets, because he was saying that, and he's been going back and forth on Bitcoin for years.
Hmm.
Mark Cuban, he's saying that Bitcoin is something that you shouldn't even bother with unless you're completely out of debt, unless it's something that you're okay with losing. And I don't really see it that way. He says it's like the internet, exactly like the internet stock bubble. Exactly. He thinks Bitcoin and ETH, a few others, will be an analogs to those that were built during the dot-com era, survive the bubble bursting and thrive like Amazon, eBay, and Priceline, but many won't. But this has been the same argument I've been reading for 5 years. Like, what do you say to that? Is this a bubble that's going to burst and then it just disappears, or are we off to the races for the next 50, 100 years?
I think comparing it to the tech bubble is really bad. I mean, if you dollar cost average throughout the tech bubble, what was that, like late 90s,
Yeah.
early 2000s? Like if you
Yep.
dollar cost average all the way out right now, you'd be up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah,
you
you would.
know?
Yep.
So, I think if If you don't understand investing, and investing is not some complicated thing, but you only lose when you sell, right?
Right.
So no, what happens is a lot of people will buy at the top, it'll tank, and they sell at the bottom. Like, oh my God, I got to get out. It's over, right?
The
And
panic.
it's like
Yeah.
that panic thing. Yeah. And it's like, that's not exactly how this stuff works. When it tanks is when you're supposed to buy, and so do I think right now is a bubble? I do. I personally think it's a bubble, just based upon my own knowledge of investing. I think that the price is probably going to come down to maybe 10 or 15K, and then it'll hit a new high of 50K, and then there'll be a new floor, right? That's just, how I'm seeing the trend of Bitcoin over the few years. And I'm going to celebrate when it dips that low, right? Like, oh, I get to buy it at a discount now, and
Yeah. Me
buy
too.
even more than I did last time. Like every time there's a dip, I buy more than I did the last time, because I'm always like, I should have bought more. I should have bought more.
Yep.
It's definitely not no baseball card type thing. I don't know about that. That's very poor comparison. But I think there's a lot of problems that Bitcoin solves that make it valuable. But I think it's something that people should definitely expose themselves or expose their portfolio to, in investing. What's the other bet, to bet on the dollar?
I know, dude. Yo, how many more stimulus packages are they going to give this country? Like, what I'm seeing in the future with Biden and socialism coming forward, is this going to be? Let me rephrase. Let me step back for a second. With the way we saw Bitcoin run recently, with the economic downturn, the I guess inflation of the U.S. dollar, this is good for Bitcoin essentially, right? This isn't more U.S. dollar out there in the economy is bad for the U.S. dollar, but good for Bitcoin, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, what's Bitcoin at right now? 34,000. So you need
Something like that.
$34,000 for one Bitcoin. So it tells you
Crazy.
right away which one's the superior currency. But again, this goes back to people needing to understand investing. The rich, or I should say the wealthy, stay wealthy because they don't hoard cash. They don't hoard currencies. What they do is they take their currencies and they hoard them in capital goods. Going back to that word again, that term, capital goods. They store this stuff in capital goods. And capital goods can often be described as something that makes you more money. We also have these mechanisms called securities or stocks, and people store their money in those entities, right? And it's a lot safer than being in the bank with whatever shitty interest rate you're going to get from a savings account. 1%, 0.5%, 3%, whatever you're getting. So holding on to the currency of any country really isn't intelligent. And that's what the wealthy understand. If they're hoarding cash, it's because they're waiting for a crash to go buy some more capital goods, to go buy some more real estate, to go buy some more stocks, to go buy some more Bitcoin. But you're supposed to store your money in things and not in the bank.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And that's what I've been trying to do. I mean, I put every dollar I can into Bitcoin, into Ethereum. Even I know you're probably going to hate me for this, but XRP, I'm holding a pretty big bag of XRP. I'm not giving up on it. I'm going to give up on it eventually when it hits a certain number. I'm going to cash it out, but I'm only doing that for the greedy gains. And I think that's a part of the game, correct? Like there's a little bit of greed involved in cryptocurrency.
I think you're better off going with Dogecoin and XRP.
Well, explain to me why. Explain to me why. Because I listened to another guy. There's a guy I listened to on YouTube, TikTok, who is all about it. He claims he's an ex head of a bank, and he says it's going to be the international banking coin for transfers. And right now, all the retail is just getting shaken out of the market.
What XRP is?
Yeah, that's what this guy's claiming. I've heard this. I've heard this.
Yeah, that's not.
From XRP.
Yeah, that just doesn't make any sense. The banks are going to create their own.
They're not going to work with, since XRP is already established. They're not going to.
Hell no. No, XRP's protocol, again, I'm no expert in this stuff. I haven't studied up on it, but from the conversation I heard from my people, XRP is it's a pump and dump scam. That's what I've been hearing. That it's a pump and dump scam. And the protocol isn't anything special. But aside from that, the banks are just going to create their own coin. You know, I think JP Morgan's got their own coin coming, JP coin or something like that. So, I mean, it's just technology. You know,
Oh,
why
yeah,
would I
no,
pay you? You know, if I'm this huge bank, why would I use your technology when I can have my own proprietary technology? You know, and the way these coins work, you know, I don't know if I can trust your blockchain, right? Um, so yeah, no, I don't, I would get out of XRP.
no, I appreciate your advice, dude. I definitely appreciate your advice. I mean, I'm not holding like a gigantic amount, but I bought
Right.
it mad cheap, so I'm up even big now. So
Yeah.
unless it completely crashes, I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
Hmm.
So I don't want to take up too much more of your time, man. I know we got about a half-hour block here, and first of all, I want to thank you. I want you to give, if you can, for a minute. I know we just have a new year. We have a new year just came. I'm hopeful that a lot of new people will watch this show. I'm going to try to expose it to my wrestling audience. I'm a big fan of pro wrestling, as I told you. I'm going
All
to try to
right.
expose you to them, get you open to a brand new audience. Now, 2021, uh, we got a lot of tension. We got a lot of divide. I've been canceled on social media in the wrestling community. It's a super liberal community multiple times just for speaking my mind and standing up for certain people.
Mm.
Um, I've been banned off Twitter multiple times. Uh, Give some advice to people moving forward in 2021. Like, do people need to relax and chill a little bit? Should everybody just be vigilant and be on edge the entire time? Because I see a lot of edginess, man. Sum it up. What do we see ahead for our future?
People have to get smarter about their lives. There's this old phrase, never put off tomorrow what you can do today. We have to start maximizing our days and hours and minutes and time and see where we're putting that stuff. Are we putting too much of it towards garbage? I mean, it's fine to have our leisure moments, you know, like I love to sit down and catch a Netflix flick every once in a while and, you know, but we have to monitor our time and understand what we're building here. Um, I sent out a newsletter today to explain to people, you know, the solution to this problem. And basically, like I said, this is not a short-term thing. Like a lot of people are thinking short-term. What do we do? What do we do? Well, the answer is you have to build your empire. You have to build your power base, and that's going to take a century. Again, it took China a century, only a century. It's miraculous to become a world power. What are you as an individual going to do generationally to change your life? You know, you have to think like that, which is why I'm in tech, which is why I have 4 to 5 tech startups. I'm thinking generationally, you know, like my daughter taking over these companies, my son's taking over these companies, right? And how do I become a multi-billionaire? Because obviously it's the multi-billionaires that are making the rules. So, you know, you have to be there with them. Somebody has to do that. But um, I don't think I love what's happening because it's making people pay attention more, and they've been pushed back on so much. But now is the time where people have to, especially in social media, understand you're behind enemy lines. Move accordingly. You know, stop being so loud and feeling like you have to voice every single opinion. If you're on your enemy's platform and you're calling, you know, your shots and they see it, they can set up contingency plans for you, you know? So keep that shit quiet. Find yourself some cryptic comms, right? You know, when you're in the military, you don't just go on a public frequency with your radio signal.
That's true. That's true, man.
Right?
Yeah, I've made that mistake countless times. You know.
So we got to be, you know, if we're on social media, we have to be cryptic with our messages, and it's time to build. It's time to build.
Yeah, man. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, my friend. Tell everybody where they can find you. I know at Hotep's Been Told You is the YouTube show, which I love. I've been watching it. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be completely honest. When I first saw you on Joe Rogan, I was super intrigued. I was like, who is this dude? What is he talking about? I got to check out a little bit more. Then I turned on your podcast, right? I started listening and I was listening to something and I did not understand what you guys were talking about. I'm like, man, this is like too black for me. I don't get it. I don't understand what this dude is talking about. So I kind of like dipped my toe in the water and pulled my toe out. But then I jumped back in. And when I jumped back in, I started to hear different content, more stuff, Bitcoin, politics. I saw you on Tim Pool. I seen you with Alex Jones. I'm listening to Bandot video all the time, man. You know, I'm
Yeah.
opening up my eyes and my ears. I'm trying to wake up and take in some more stuff, get rid of that brainwashing. So tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, go to briansharp.co. I have a document that will be published hopefully the first quarter of this year, and that will awaken people and let them know the type of situation we're in. It's looking like going to be a 200-page document. We'll look out for that. Go to BryanSharp.co, BryanSharpe.co. Get on my mailing list and purchase my books. I got one on masculinity and one on marketing. Dominate Twitter.
Hell yeah, love it, dude. Thank you so much. I can't tell you how grateful I am for this opportunity. So thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thank you.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Later. Guys, thank you so much for listening to that podcast with Hotep Jesus. I'm super grateful if you listened to the entire thing. He really did give you some great information, so I hope you're able to learn something. And hopefully you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button and share this video. And also, I need feedback. Please let me know what you thought of the interview. I haven't done many interviews in the last couple of years. I mean, this is something that I used to do all the time. So I'm kind of trying to kick the rust off, and this was a huge opportunity. So please leave a comment. Please hit that like button. Please share this video and help me get up to that 1,000 subscriber mark, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you need links to some of Hotep Jesus' information, find them down below. Some of my information as well, find it down below. Thank you so much once again. My name is Jay, and I appreciate you. Thanks. I'm out of here. Peace.